Guys, in today's video, we are making pumpkin pie crumble bars. One of you guys left a comment mentioning pumpkin pie crumble bars, and I was like, oh, what a good idea. I decided to give it a try, and they came out actually really good. Big shout out to my subscriber who gave me the idea to make the pumpkin pie crumble bars. I'm not sure if people want their name out there like that, so I'm not going to say her name. Let's go ahead and get into the video, but before we do, if you're new here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also, if you have Instagram or Facebook, I do have links for those pages down below, and I do regularly post when a new video comes out. So if you're not big on YouTube or you're not on YouTube like that, then you can also follow me there for any updates on videos. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. Alright, so you're going to start off with a mixing bowl to make these pumpkin pie crumble bars, and we're going to start by making the crust and the topping. So right here I have 2.5 cups of some almond flour, and we're just going to pour that into our mixing bowl. Here I have 2 tablespoons of coconut flour, and we're just going to throw that in. And next up here, we have 1/4 cup of sweetener. I used monk fruit. And here I went ahead and put them all in the same bowl. But I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and I have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So first, mix all your dry ingredients together just to make sure all the seasoning is well mixed in to the almond flour and coconut flour mixture. And then once we get that mixed, then we're going to add in our wet ingredients, which is only 2 things. Alright, so here I have 1/3 cup of melted butter. Just throw it in the microwave for a little while until it's melted, and then you can add it in. Here I also have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and that is actually going to complete our ingredients for the crust. We will put a little bit to the side for the topping and then add a little bit more in there for the topping, but for right now, this is going to be it. All we got to do now is just mix it all together, make sure it's really well combined, make sure you get any clumps out. Okay, guys, and when you pick it up in your hand, it should hold its shape, kind of like wet sand. So it is supposed to be crumbly, but once you pick it up in your hand, it should hold its shape. So once it's like that, then it's pretty much done. That is what you're looking for. Okay, and when we're done with that, our crust is pretty much done. Just go ahead and set it to the side, and then we'll come back to it in just a little bit. Alright, so now we are getting a 13x9 glass dish, and we are going to throw some parchment paper in there. And I normally put the parchment paper in this way for things like this, just because I like to leave a little bit hanging out on the sides. That way it's really easy to pull it out, to cut it. Then you don't have to worry about cutting the pieces inside the pan and, it getting all messed up and everything. Plus, it's an easier cleanup. So just sprinkle a little bit of water to the bottom of your pan. Some people use oil, but water works just fine. And then just kind of lay the parchment paper in just like this. That way you have a little bit overlapping on each side. You only need it to overlap on 2 sides. And I normally always do the longer sides of the dish. And so like I said, it's supposed to be crumbly. We are going to reserve a cup of it to the side because we're going to use about a cup for the topping. Now, you don't have to put your cup to the side. If you're pretty good at eyeballing it, just eyeball it. Just for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to set this to the side just to make sure that it is about a cup that will fit on the top. So once you've set your cup to the side, go ahead and put the remainder of your crust into the glass dish. Now we're just going to spread our crust mixture all over And I normally just spread it around a little bit just to make sure that it is even. And then kind of just go around and make sure it's not thicker on one side than the other side and things like that. Okay, then after you've done that, just kind of use your spatula to go around and press down to form a crust. You can use your hands, you can use a spatula, you can use the bottom of a glass, whatever you have that you like to normally use, that is fine. Just kind of using the spatula for now, and then I'll end up using my hands to make it a little bit more firm. And I'm just kind of doing this so that I can go around and just kind of make the ends more even looking. And that's mainly for the purpose of the video. So, just go around and finish that, and we will move on to the next step. Okay, so we have pressed our crust down, and our oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Now we're going to throw this into the oven for about 10 minutes. Okay, so now that the crust is in the oven and it's baking, we're going to finish our topping for the crumble bars. So you're going to get that 1 cup of crust mixture that you had left, and we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of brown sugar replacement. Sometimes I use the brown golden monk fruit. Today I have the brown sugar, the brown swerve. And I'm also adding in half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And then I'm just going to give it a mix. Okay, so now the only other thing we're going to add is we're going to add about a tablespoon of cold butter. Yes, this is cold butter. It's not melted. It's not softened. It is just cold butter. Because what this is going to do is it's going to take your crust pieces and it's going to make them more firm. And it's going to make them a little thicker. And when we're done getting it all mixed in, this bowl is going to go into the fridge. Okay, and now as you've been mixing for a while, you're going to see that our crumbles are starting to get a little bit bigger, a little thicker. And then now we're going to put them into the fridge, and putting it in the fridge is going to help it firm up. So it's nice and firm when we put it on top of our crumble bars. Okay, so to make your filling, I have a 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. And we're just going to add that into a mixing bowl. And we're basically just going to add some other things to it, give it a mix, and then we can pour it into our crust. Our crust is still in the oven baking right now. It only has to bake for 10 minutes. So once it's done while we're doing this, I'm actually going to pull it out of the oven, and then I'm just going to set it to the side and just let it cool like 5 to 10 minutes. Give it a chance to cool off 5 to 10 minutes before you add your filling in. So by the time we're done with this filling, the crust will be done and cooled off and ready to pour in. Okay, so now we're going to take 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream and we're going to pour it into our pumpkin puree. Okay, so now I have a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we're going to add that in. Here I have 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 3 teaspoons of pumpkin spice, and here I have 3/4 of a cup of brown sweetener. Okay, we're also going to add in 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. This is just going to make the filling thicken up just a little bit more. And then we are also adding in 2 eggs. And then we're adding in a 1/4 cup of melted butter. and go ahead and get your hand mixer and then just give it a mix until it's well combined. Alright, so let me set that to the side and bring back over our pan that has our crust in it. Remember, we baked it for 10 minutes, we let it cool. So now we are bringing it back and we are gonna pour our filling right into the pan on top of the crust. Okay, now just using your spatula, just go ahead and spread it around and make sure that it is nice and even. And then when you're done spreading it and making it even, just go ahead and tap it on the counter a couple times and that should do it. So now we are going to put this into the oven. We're going to bake it at 350 for 20 minutes. We do still need to put our topping on, but if we put our topping on right now, our topping could sink down into the pie filling since it's so since it's not that thick of a filling. So we're just going to bake it first for 20 minutes and then we'll come back. Okay, so we went ahead and removed this from the oven. It's been baking for about 20 minutes. Now, it's not cooked all the way yet, but it is thickened enough to where we can add our topping in without having to worry about our topping sinking in or, cook just. The first time I did it, I cooked it, I put it in the oven right away, and the topping basically cooked inside the pumpkin pie. So, definitely make sure you bake it for 20 minutes first, just to have it thick enough to where you can add this topping and it can stay there. Alright, so now we went ahead and grabbed our topping that we had in the fridge. It has firmed up. And so now the pieces are actually thick and they're firm, and the pie is thicker, so it's not going to sink down as you're baking it. It's going to stay there. So you want to just kind of, spread it all around with your hands and just kind of scatter the crumble, all over the top of your pumpkin pie filling. And when you're done with that, just very, very, very lightly, just use your hands and kind of press the crumble topping into the pie. Not too much, just really a little bit, just to kind of make the topping stick to the filling a little bit. But you don't want to press it too much in there. We just want it to be able to stick to it. Now we are going to put it back into the oven for 25 minutes. Alright, so we went ahead and pulled it out of the oven. It's been cooking for 25 minutes. As you can see, it is brown, a little bit brown around the edges, and that is basically what you're looking for. And now I'm just going to pop it in the fridge for a couple hours. Okay, so it's been in the fridge for a couple hours. Now, this isn't something that you have to do. This is just something I like to do because then it firms it up really nice to where it's really easy to grab out of the glass dish. You see how really easy that was to just grab it out of there. And that's mainly the reason why I put it in the fridge for a couple hours. Now, you don't have to keep it in there too long, maybe like 2 hours or 3. I just do that to get it nice and firm. Then it's really easy to remove from the pan. Not only that, but then it makes it really easy to cut too. So right now, the way I cut it into about 15 pieces. Okay, and then I will show you guys what it looks like, and it is firmed up, and now we are ready to see what they taste like. Okay, so you got the crust, and then the layer of the filling, and then the crumbled topping, and that is what it looks like. It is pretty firm, so it's not really soft like a pie, but the filling is still soft. But I did add the coconut flour in there to firm it up a little bit, so if you don't want it like that, you can leave the coconut flour out, but I really like adding the coconut flour in there because it just makes it more stable for the bars. But let's give it a taste. Oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, it's good. So if you enjoy this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next video.